This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Rick Mazur, the CEO of Forum Energy Metals, and Allison Rippin Armstrong, the VP for Nunavut Affairs, recently appointed to Forum. Well, thank you both very much for joining us today. Rick, could I come to you first and just catch up a little bit on the news that was recently announced where you closed a $10.4 million financing? So that's quite a lot of money there. Can I ask you how that financing went, what the appetite was like, and indeed what the planned use of the proceeds are going to be used for?
Sure, Mark. Yeah, we're really excited that we got that money in the bank so that we can sleep at night and start our planning for 2024. The main, we're going to do a geophysical survey on our 100% owned Wollaston project in Saskatchewan. That's a really good project just to help us define targeting there a little bit better so that the next drill campaign will have some really strong targets. But the bulk of the money will be going to our Nunavut uranium project. As you know, we had a drill program last summer. It was very successful, and we have some tremendous potential there for a major uranium discovery in Nunavut.
Indeed. What was the appetite like amongst investors, Rick?
Very positive. I mean, as you know, the uranium market is really starting to react to the supply-demand deficit, that structural deficit that we're seeing now and will be seeing probably for the next couple of years.
Okay, good. And in terms of the plans and the bulk of the money to be used at Nunavut, I know we spoke last time, last field season from site using the Starlink connection. You had a temporary camp there. Could you give us a bit of an idea, some taster of what might be to come on site this year, and hopefully we can do another video from site?
Yeah. Well, right now we're just doing a lot of planning of the logistics. It's going to happen pretty quick here. We'll be making a few flights into the local community with some more supplies, which and then the supplies that are already there that have been sent in by barge to the local community of Baker Lake will be sent overland by sled train. We use snow machines to drag all the equipment across the tundra by sleds to the drill site. We're moving in a second drill, and to the campsite where we'll start building a camp in May. And the drills will start turning in June.
Okay. And is it all planned and ready to go then in terms of where your drill targets?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we certainly have our drill plan is in place. Rebecca's fine-tuning that somewhat with all the historical data and the new data from this year's drill program.
And what would be the main objective? Because you have a discovery effectively. Is it now about proving just how big that discovery is?
Yeah, absolutely. The three-quarters of our drill campaign will be focused on building a resource at the Tatagak discovery made last summer. And about 25% of our drill campaign this year will be utilized on several targets that we think could be as big or hopefully even bigger than what we've discovered to date.
So is it fair to say that at the end of the season, you would like to be able to make that resource statement to the market?
Yeah, we're not. Listen, you got to do a lot of drilling to get to a mineral resource estimate. I think what we're going to be able to demonstrate this year is that we have a major discovery on our hands.
Okay, good. Well, thank you, Rick. Allison, could I come to you? It's the first time, obviously, we're talking. Vice President of Nunavut Affairs. I know you've recently been appointed here to Forum. Could you perhaps just give us a little bit of an insight as to yourself and your background?
Yes, thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm a biologist and environmental scientist by education and by trade. I've got 30 years experience now. I realized last year I hit that 30-year mark. And so I've been working in environment, social, and governance in some capacity over the last 3 decades. I've worked with Indigenous governments and organizations. I've worked with regulatory bodies, mining companies and exploration companies. And I've worked extensively across all 3 of Canada's territories, the Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut, as well as other jurisdictions in Canada and internationally in Botswana. And I'm very excited because I worked with Rick and Forum in the past, and it's great to be back working with the team again.
Indeed. Well, it's very important, that whole ESG, but also dealing with sort of the First Nations. It's very important for mining companies to get that right. Otherwise, it can be a major kind of sticking point. What are your plans for your role in Forum now throughout the course of this year?
So, well, Forum is a great team. It's a great company and a great team. They've done a fantastic job of establishing relationships with the hamlet of Baker Lake and the Nunavut in the Kavalik region. And I'm looking forward to getting back up to Baker Lake. I haven't been there in a few years, and to Rankin Inlet, and working with Rebecca and her team to continue to build on those relationships that have already been established.
Okay. I wonder if we could perhaps talk a little bit about recent news that came out from Canada. I think it was around the 18th of January. It was about the signing of a Nunavut Devolution Agreement. Apparently it's said to be the largest land transfer in Canada's history, and it's said to open opportunities and investments and more prosperity for Nunavut and its people. I wonder if you can explain a little bit more about the significance of this announcement, because I understand it's been quite a long time in the working, and what it means for the mineral sector operating in the Nunavut region.
Well, you're right. It has been a long time in the making. I think it goes all the way back to 1999 when Nunavut became a territory in its own right. And since then, the federal government and the government of Nunavut have worked to transfer a number of programs and responsibilities from the federal government to Nunavut. Rick and I were just at the Association of Mineral Exploration in Vancouver, the conference, the Roundup conference, and we saw a lot of our friends from Nunavut, and they were all very excited. It's an incredibly exciting time. And it's just, for us, it's the greatest news. It's a fantastic way to start 2024. The agreement, that it is a landmark agreement. It is the largest land package in Canada. And so for us, it brings an incredible amount of certainty. For the people of Nunavut, it brings an incredible amount of certainty. And the agreement will see the transfer of responsibilities over lands, resource management, and rights with respect to water. And so that means everything that we do, that will now be the decision-making, and the responsibilities will rest in Nunavut with the Nunavut.
So in terms of what it means for sort of the area and the Nunavut area, as you mentioned, does it sort of take that decision-making away from sort of like a federal level more into like a local level, and gives the local people more, I don't know, ownership in decisions that are made in the area?
Absolutely. And so you're right. It takes the decision-making completely away from the federal government, and the decision-making rests with the government of Nunavut. And so where in the past the Nunavut would make recommendations, they would raise concerns, or they would raise requests and provide recommendations for potential terms and conditions in any kinds of authorizations. Those would then travel 2,000 kilometers away to the federal minister, and the federal minister would be the decision maker. And so now those decisions will rest in Nunavut. So it'll be, for Nunavut, it's their government that are making those decisions. And so it's just, it totally changes the dynamic.
Yes, indeed. Well, you can see why they've labelled it as a landmark. I mean, it does sound like it's going to really empower decisions in the local area there, which hopefully, as you say, gives certainty for numerous stakeholders on the journey. Rick, what do you think it means for sort of Forum and the decisions that the company will have to make alongside the local people going forward?
Yeah, it's going to be very positive for mining in Nunavut, is my view.
Okay.
Number one, in the Kivalliq region, Agnico Eagle has 2 gold mines in operation, one of them within the community that we're working in of Baker Lake. In total, in the territory of Nunavut, almost 50% of the GDP comes from mining production.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then there's a lot of indirect benefits from mining that are part of that GDP. So there's a lot of wealth that comes from mining in Nunavut. So think of this. I mean, all that wealth is going to be in the hands of the local people, and they're going to see where it's coming from. It's coming from mining. And that's going to benefit the local people. It's not going to go to Ottawa and maybe a bunch of bureaucracy taking away a lot of that funds. It's going to stay in the territory. Okay. And people of Nunavut, I believe, are going to see how important mining is to their well-being. So I think the future of mining in Nunavut is going to be very, very positive. And hopefully Forum is going to be one of those benefits of that.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Allison Rippin Armstrong, the VP of Nunavut Affairs at Forum Energy Metals, and Rick Mazur, the CEO. And Rick, hopefully we can catch up when you start to get those plans fully finalised. Maybe I can chat to Rebecca and go into detail on what the plans are for this year's field season, and looking forward to seeing how you get on. But for now, thank you both very much for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programmes at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.